All right, we are back and we are starting segment 4, which means hour 10. And so, you can already tell Kelly that it's getting a little bit later in the day because math is already fallen flat and everything else is just starting to fade a little bit. So I know that I have a break coming up at 8 o'clock your time, and I just keep looking at the clock going, it's not moving fast enough towards 8. It's not. So, um, hey, everybody, welcome back to Mission for Healthy Heroes. Uh, I am being joined now by somebody who has a story that she wanted to share with us. And we were very, very careful with this because it involves a family member that's no longer with us. So, we tried to take the precautions. We tried to make sure that everything was okay. Kelly Doyle, you went through your family, and they graciously accepted our offer for you guys to share your story about Zach. Can you go on ahead and tell us your story, please?
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Kelly, and I grew up in my hometown with seven cousins and one that moved up from the south. So we're big on family here. And then, really, I mean, my cousins are more like siblings, the ones I grew up with closely. And one of those cousins is Zach Solomons, and we were about 3 years apart. And we just, really had all those childhood memories together of camping, family barbecues, holidays, birthdays, kind of you name it. We were all together for. So um, later on in his life, he did join the Marines. Well, he joined when he was 18. So he was always playing with Army men when he was younger. So really just kind of ran ahead with it, and he was in the 311. He was in specifically the 19 battalion. Their nickname is actually called the Walking Dead, kind of similar to the show. And um, on April 4th, 2016, unfortunately, he had passed away. He had taken his own life, which was a complete shock to the family. I mean, I myself had talked to him about 3 days before. Closer family members had talked with him just the day before. So, I was hoping that if I could share a little bit about our journey going through that grief, it may help other families out there that are going through similar struggles. I would hate for another family to have to go through what we did, but that's, I feel like, an unfortunate reality that a lot of families are in. So, I just wanted to spread a message of hope, of resilience. There are resources out there to help. And at this point, we're about 10 years out from losing him. So, it's definitely difficult. I don't want to, try to paint it as anything less than that. Um, but, really just my journey through grief, was maybe a little bit different than the usual. So I approached it from a kind of a three-prong approach. And one part was intellectual. So I tried to find any sort of book that was close to, as close as I can, subject matter wise. And I found a really great book called Resilience by Eric Greitens. And it's written by a veteran in order to help other veterans. And it's written in the style of letters back and forth between friends. And the friend that he is writing to, his brother has committed suicide. So it was just about as close as I could get to my situation, reading material wise, and that helped me so much. I know it's, a lot of people find solace in going to a world of books. I myself always kind of grew up as a little bookworm when I was younger, so that was one aspect of how I tackled it. And then also I did something very physical, I was learning Krav Maga, which is a type of fighting style.
8 points, correct?
I'm sorry.
The style of 8 points, or
Well, that's definitely part of it. It takes a little piece of kind of all different fighting styles
mhm,
and puts it just purely in a self defense format, and that was really great because there was a lot of feeling. I mean, first of all, in a situation like that, there's just so many feelings. It's overwhelming. You can often, feel like you kind of got taken under by a wave in the ocean. I grew up near the beach, so um, part of that was anger, and a great way of a healthy outlet of dealing with that is doing something physical, and you're learning something, which is nice. And then the last, method I used that was very helpful to me was grief counseling. It's definitely very important. It's important to go when you're ready to go. I wasn't ready for the first 6 months, but I still went, and it was very helpful. And I think personally, I needed a little bit of time before jumping into it. Everyone's a little bit different.
mhm.
But there are just so many resources out there. There's counseling centers, there's support groups. Really, it's amazing how many people are out there and willing to help. So um, that's kind of my soup to nuts of why I'm here.
2 questions, different directions, same subject. Prior to Zach taking his life, were did you see any signs? And after after he was gone, did you look back and were you aware that there were signs there? Was it, was there anything in which, look, let's be honest here, there's always going to be that guilt that survivors remember, like, how in the hell could I have not seen this before? But we're also ultra sensitive to what is going on, and maybe what you thought you were supposed to see just wasn't really apparent, you know? So,
Yeah, so it's a little I didn't see immediate signs. I did notice he was different after he came back from his tour in Afghanistan. That was a very significant time. A lot of action over there. So, I did notice he was a lot more reserved, and it's just a little out of character for him because he was kind of very much a life of the party person. Yeah, I and that was maybe a few years before, a couple of years before it had happened, but definitely I think that was something that affected him very deeply.
and what about afterwards? Were there anything that you felt like you missed?
Um, Personally, no, I
No.
don't feel like there
Okay.
was things that I miss. I he never really expressed to me any, any sort of emotions going towards that. We just kind of talked about lighthearted things, about, visiting North Carolina again, things in the future too, that we had talked about. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't expressed to me specifically, but sometimes I think when you talk to people, even if you're going through something, you might just want to keep it a little light, just to have a light conversation. So it could have been something like that.
When you talk to your family, Kelly, does anybody is anybody sitting there saying, I wish I would have listened closer to what he's saying. Is there anybody who feels like, and again, this is not trying to pick on anyone, but is there anyone who is feeling guilty because they missed something? And how can we support them to make them understand that no, it's not, you know, that this is not your fault. You had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a natural impulse to have in that
Mhm.
in that scenario. Really, because I mean, I felt it. I'm sure my other family members felt it. Just all of us felt like, how could we possibly miss this?
Right.
It's not something that he had ever struggled with in the past. It was very sudden. We just, I mean, hit us like a ton of bricks. So yeah, I mean, I think there's always a little bit of that hindsight bias of, oh, maybe something here or there. But I think that's a natural part of the grieving process, how they have stages of grief. I think specifically for this type of grief, because each type of grief is a little bit different. There is that kind of either a survivor guilt or a guilt of like, I feel like I might have missed something. So definitely the feeling of I wish they had just reached out to me. If
Hmm.
they're I would encourage, anyone that's struggling mentally to, reach out. Sometimes they call it a buddy check, but that doesn't just have to be on. I believe it's in October. Doesn't just have to be that one day in October. That should be something that we practice with friends. That check in with them. Make sure they're good, as much as they're willing to share.
That actually kind of brings up a point that, I appreciate what they do with like the monthly celebrations or, the celebration of the day or something like that. But I wonder if sometimes they kind of do a disservice to what we should be doing every day. Something like, we are talking about this and checking in with somebody that, hey, I haven't heard from this guy in a couple days, and that's not normal. Instead of thinking, having to be reminded by a monthly celebration, isn't this something that, we should learn in our hearts that we should be doing? And do you take more precautions? Do you check in with people more now? Have you found yourself doing that?
Yeah, I definitely think I check in with people more now. I mean, it wasn't something I was terribly absent about beforehand,
Right.
but if I know someone is struggling, they are, absolutely, someone that I make a point to reach out to and just, see if they want to talk, see if they need to vent, kind of whatever is needed, because it's really there's so many different scenarios, not even outside of just in life. So I always try to reach out to family and friends. I mean, a lot of family members I just regularly call just to talk and just regular talking. But also if I know they're going through a particularly rough time, I'm reaching out more. I always try to. I know we all get busy with our own lives, but I think if you make a habit of it, maybe it starts with having a little post-it note on your phone that reminds you every couple of weeks or something or a month. Oh, check in on so and so. Make sure to call them, or that sort of thing. So,
And Kelly, what would be one thing that you would like to get across to family members that they really need to pay closer attention to?
um, I think overall, just really valuing that mental health, and really making sure to take good care of of your emotional health. Making something like therapy um, not like a daunting thing, or something that's very accepted. Because I've benefited from going to therapy in my life. And there's plenty of people out there that have strongly benefited from therapy, but I feel like there is
Yeah.
still a little bit of a stigma with it. So I think just making it an open, inclusive space where people are open to talk really goes a long way. We've always been a very open family. We're a bunch of hippies, so I feel like we had that, and it was tough because we really just we're blindsided. So, but for the average everyday, just making sure to take care of yourselves and take care of you the best that you can, And if you need help, reach out. It's always good to get another perspective, or just have someone to talk to. Sometimes you just need to vent.
How important has your family been to each other during this time? And what are some of the things that you and your family have done to help each other heal?
Well, we've always been very close,
Yeah.
so that's never changed. We do have a couple family members down in North Carolina now, so we're in New York, so it's a little farther away, but that doesn't change how close we are, and making sure to have regular phone calls and Snapchats and everything about um, you know just making sure everyone's good. I still feel like they're my cousin Zach's sisters are like my sisters. I wouldn't want to have it any other way, and very close. And it's been a journey. It's hard. It's very hard. Um, there's definitely points where you pray for numbness because that's easier to deal with at times. But I just wanted to make the message out there that like you can get through it, and you can work through it. It's never something you're going to get over, but it's something you can work through.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a point that I don't think enough people appreciate. That this isn't something that you get over. This isn't, um, this isn't a you feel sorrow for a couple days, a month, whatever, and then next thing you know, okay, well, I'm okay. I'm back. I'm back. I'm bounced back. So and that's something that a lot of people in a lot of different areas have a bad habit of doing. you know when they see somebody, and it's not that they're trying to be intentionally um disrespectful, but when you see somebody who's coming out going, oh, it's good to see you feeling better, it's good to see you getting back out there. And that's really insulting, because it's grief is there's not a timetable for it. There's not, it's not on a schedule, and it's definitely not on your schedule. I mean, people grieve different. And so, um, one of the questions that we've been asking people, Kelly, today is very simple. We've got the community, or the Come Together Compass, which we're trying to build right now. Okay, and the Come Together Compass is going to be a program that is going to uh, do our best to connect people to what they need when they need it. If I were to come to you, in which I am, if I were going to come to you and I would say, Kelly, what is one thing that we need to make sure the Come Together Compass does? What would that be?
Um, there's so many things to think of, with that, but I would say, just given our conversation here, access to mental health services, I would say, would be kind of my number one. Because it is so hard, if someone can't afford counseling but desperately needs counseling. There's definitely a lot of people out there like that, of like, oh, I can't go to therapy, it's too expensive. So affordable access to it would be amazing. So maybe there might be therapists in the area that could do a little pro bono
Yeah.
work, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we are definitely trying to figure out, is how to try to get people who would volunteer some time for those who are struggling a little bit more. But was Zach still in the service, or was he back home?
He was actively in the service. He was stationed in Pendleton and San Diego.
Okay. And I am very, very sorry for your loss. I am extremely um thankful that you would come here and you would share this story with us on this day. This is one of the conversations that, look, it's not an easy conversation to have, and this is one of the times that I talk about that. I sit here after listening to this story, and I'm like going, you know, I feel like we need to make more impact, but it's hard to it's hard to sit there and let you go, because I wish I could do more for you and your family. I wish there was something that we could do. But right now, all I can say is, we are here if you ever need to talk, or anyone in your family. I've Until the compass is up and running, I vowed that I'm going to do my best to be the best listener I can be, quite frankly. And I would love to do that and try to help anybody that we could. If you I'm going to open up the mic to you, and I'm going to ask you, Kelly, please say something to the community, and say what you need to say, and please let your heart lead the way.
Thank you so much, Zach. I really appreciate it. And, thank you so much for hosting this amazing podcast. I'm really, you never know who it's reaching. So,
Yeah.
you know, to all the listeners out there, thank you for listening. Very, very much appreciated. And especially thank you to my family and friends that are listening now. I love you all. And I value your support and love so, so highly. So a message, that I would like to get out is I have a few tips for grief, which I know sounds a little strange, but when I was struggling with it, I was like, but what can I actually tangibly do? Because it's hard to find stuff to do. There's everyone has their condolences and everything, but which are very much appreciated. But day to day, you're just kind of like looking to do something. So
Mhm.
the best advice that I received, and something that I kind of lived by during that time, was to make peace with yourself at least once a day, even if it's for 5 minutes. And it could be, whatever you want it to mean. So for me, I was working outside a lot and eating lunch in parks. So for me, I went on the swings every day because that's something that Zach and I did when we were kids. And that was, my kind of connection to him and a peaceful way of connecting. So I would recommend that, for anyone. I did write it down. Also doing tangible things like crafting or, some sort of hobby that you could just it helps get your mind off things. I know you might not have the initial motivation to do something, but maybe if there's like an old hobby that you used to enjoy, reigniting that a little bit does help. Um, and then, like I said before, using your resources. So, maybe you find a support group in the area, or online. There's so many resources online, and it's really the accessible part. You just need a phone. It doesn't need to be a computer, but you can find help online. Fairly easily. Maybe there's a Facebook group, a meetup group, that sort of thing. So that's if that's something that you're open to. Do what you're comfortable with, but try to push a little bit of a boundary though, and do something a little uncomfortable because sometimes you might find it's really helpful and you weren't anticipating that. Um, also, this is an important one that's not usually talked about with grief. Um, Try to laugh when you can. They don't come super often, so um, I I know that sounds strange to say, but if there's something, watching a funny video or talking, some old memories with friends or something. I mean, I remember, at Zach's funeral, I heard the bagpipes and I was immediately upset, and and I was hugging my brother, and someone had come up to me and tapped me on the shoulder, and is obviously someone that doesn't really know our family. And she's like, "Are you Zach's mom?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm only 3 years older than him, so no." But it made me laugh. It really did. Like, it broke the tension. So,
It,
um, yeah.
that
I
that
was
yeah, that was probably quite that was probably quite a shock for somebody who's already sitting there and not feeling great. Is that? But you know what? As far as it not it maybe being a little strange, I don't think it is. I think it's a beautiful suggestion. You don't have to feel guilty, you know, to to want to make look, the grief is going to be part of your life. You know it's going to be there. You know it's part of who you are now. You can't be guilty to enjoy other things in life, or it's going to be hard to get back to normal. So um Kelly, I want to thank you so very much, and I would love for you to continue to connect with me whenever you can, and let's do our best to stay in connection and see how we can help other people out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much, and thank you so much for the work you do for the community. I think it's really wonderful, so
Well, I appreciate it. I hope to talk to you again next week. So I'll be reaching out to you next week, just to say thank you and see how else I can help you out. But I greatly appreciate you joining us today on Mission for Healthy Heroes.
Oh, thank
So
you so much, and, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Good luck, I know
yeah,
it's a long one.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you to your family who joined us. I appreciate it greatly, and please stick around. We got more great things coming up. So, and just to let you know, we are having a networking thing going on. If you're not going to get buried in snow, of course, but coming up at 6 o'clock your time. So, if you're interested, just reach it back out to me and I can get you the link. And it's just a little fun thing that we're going to do just to get to know some other people and give everybody just kind of a relaxation and get out of this mode and do a little bit of business, get to know other business owners in the area. So you're
Okay,
more than
great.
welcome to come back and join us at 6 if you'd like.
Okay, great, thank you so much, and,
No
have a good
problem.
rest of the day.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Goodbye.
Bye.
So we're going to keep rolling now, and we're going to bring on two of my favorite, well, actually, hopefully three, if his internet starts working a little bit better. But we'll see what happens. But we're going to be bringing on three of my favorite people in the world: Mr. Z from Z World Web, Z World Cares, and Frank Monteforte, 40. I got it this time. So, and Mr. Alan Holmes is also joining us. How are you all doing today? So,
Fantastic.
that's great. I'm gonna try to take off this overlay because it's blocking you guys, and I want to see the smiles on your faces. So, but yeah, Z, as you just saw, you introduced me to Kelly, and she was just on here, guys. Welcome to the fourth year of Mission for Healthy Heroes. I appreciate you all coming in and joining us. Z, one of the reasons I brought you on, and this is something that we didn't talk about a lot last year, and this is something very important. You started a new program, and I really, really, really want to put an emphasis on Z World Cares and ask you to inform people, tell people, and invite people to join what you've started and tell people what's behind the purpose of Z World Cares.
Of course, Brother Zach. And it's always great to see you, Zach, Frank, and General Allen. I want to start out by saying thank you so much for having me here. And of course, General Allen, thank you for your service. And for those who are watching and serving, thank you for your service. And of course, always great to hear Kelly and your talks as well. And I don't mean to beat around the bush. And your services that you provide, Zach, Frank, Kelly, and General Allen, and those watching, is truly commendable. And I appreciate the fact, Zach, that you're willing to let me talk about SeaWorld Cares. Uh, and the goal is quite simple: is to show SeaWorld that you care, just like the community pay it forward, where we always come together without feeling alone. And these nonprofits have the right to share their mission to Z World while showing everyone here watching to show that they care about doing good for our veterans, survivors of human trafficking, and bringing awareness to many other causes that are not often talked about in the media, such as our planet slowly dying, our animal kingdom, or our animal species on the verge of extinction, and of course our wildlife as well. All plant lives matter as well, and there's the lack of awareness with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And while some are profiting from those services, there are people like yourselves who are bringing awareness to it and doing good for those who are immobily challenged and want to feel who are equals in their own rights. So Z World Cares is mainly about uh, allowing nonprofits to accept donations, find sponsors, volunteers, and more importantly, show Z World that you care while sharing their mission to make Z World a better place. If I could just plug this in as well, there is a U.S. Army veteran that I like to spotlight. Her name is Dr. Helen. She has experience being a pharmaceutical doctor as well as a U.S. Army veteran. And if you'd like to learn more about her services, please visit www.cepharmacyservices.com, because no veteran should ever have to wait 7 to 9 weeks for a refill on their prescriptions or more. That's all I have to say. And thank you, Zach, for what you're doing to bring awareness in this 23-hour podcast.
Yeah, well, you know, Z, you are one of the you're one of the people who have been around the entire time that this show is has been up and running. So I greatly appreciate that you participate every year. Frank, you are joining us for the first time, and we've also got some very special news and something that we're very happy about. Frank has joined the Mission Partners. Frank is now a part of the community pay. Frank is a giving partner, part of the community pay it forward family. So we welcome you to the family, which means when you do business with Frank, he's going to donate a portion of what you pay him back to us, and we're going to together make a donation to a mission that you choose. Somebody has asked us for help, and you get to choose where that money goes simply by calling on Frank and hiring this wonderful man, and just strengthening yourself and strengthening your, well, just yourself. I mean, really, yourself, your business, and your life. But Frank, how are you doing today, my friend? Can you tell people a little bit about your coaching program?
I will. I will. And thank you very much. I'm in the process of, I guess I'll call it onboarding to the community pay it forward. Um, so, my name is Frank Monteforte. I am from FJM Life and Career Coaching. I try to help people with effective methods that have some issues in their lives. It could be they want to change a job. It could be they want to have a better relationship with their children. It could be they want to figure out how to manage their finances. Um, it could be they just want to get to know themselves better. So there's a broad brush there. But on my business card, if somebody contacts me, I send them, and it's basically I just ask people to share what's on their mind, because what I've done is realize also when you put yourself out there to help people, you're also being very vulnerable about yourself because you have to, I feel that you have to be opened. Your mind has to be opened and your heart has to be open to actually listen and authentically listen to what someone says because that person on all different various levels are stepping way outside of their comfort zone. Some people are very nervous, they're very scared, there's insecurities that come up, there's past emotions that brought them to this point to improve themselves. I could talk a long time about it, but all that being said, I feel really good that I can do it. I've done it and I've been doing it because I needed help myself. Um, we all go through things in life. We all carry suitcases with baggage in them that we hide here and there like we don't have any, but we all have them. And when you open the suitcase and you deal with the baggage that's inside of it, you're also a lot lighter now. You're not carrying that with you anymore. It doesn't have to define who you are, and it gives you an opportunity to use that to step up, move forward, and you really don't forget about all that stuff, but it doesn't affect you how you currently live your life every day. It makes people, I've seen people change to become much more confident. I've seen them uh, grow their personalities. I don't want to say they change, but they just utilize all the things that they buried about their personalities. I've learned that when we're growing up, we're happy people, we're young kids, we play, we have fun, we go to school. And then as we get older, for some reason, we're taught by whether it's a teacher, a professor, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle, or even a cousin. No, you can't be that happy. No, that's not so much. But if you look at a kid anywhere from 2 years old to 5 or 6 years old, that's the way you should be at 75 years old because you're free. You're free to be who you are. And that's what I try to help people to be who they are, to be happy, joyous, and free. So I hope that covered what you were looking for.
That that actually was beautiful. And Frank, I will come back to you because I got a question to ask. I think it'll carry over from our last guest really well. But first, I'd like to bring in Mr. Alan Holmes, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man, a great friend, family partner, and somebody who understands the trials that the veterans go through with mental health and um, both in veterans and in civilians. Alan, you've got an unfortunate experience on both sides of that. So, but can you please take and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me,
Yes, yes, we got a lag, but yeah, we
my
got you.
friend? Yes. Okay. Well, yeah. Good morning. Good morning, Frank. Hey, this is Z. Nice to see you as always, my friend. Thank you, Zach, for helping me. You know, the veterans in our community are dealing with this on a daily basis. Um, my wife is not a veteran, but she has mental illness, and on a regular basis, a daily basis, we go through her journey. Her She has better days, but there are dark days, and it is something that, as a veteran, I saw that I was fortunate to get out 72 hours before the Gulf War started, but there's a lot of things that veterans go through, like myself, survivor's guilt, but we continue to go through this journey together, because I know that this is something that we must lower the number instead of raising it. So my journey is just simple: to collaborate and connect and network with many individuals who are having different uh, days and nights, that they just need to be heard and to be listened to. And that's we're here to support the veterans and as well as their families, because when they say when a veteran serves, a family serves as well.
Let me ask you this, Alan. You just brought
So
it.
I appreciate you allowing me to come in and just
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Alan. You just mentioned like survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt to a lot of people is basically somebody saying, you know, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And there's more to it. You just said you were just
yes,
hours away before you could have been shipped off to a battlefield. That's not yeah, maybe it was the luck of the draw, but that's not the way that you're going to look at it because you have friends that weren't quote unquote lucky and that didn't come home.
correct. Yeah, that's something that veterans carry every day with them. And one of the things I do remember my brigade commander said before I left, he says, one thing about a veteran, he says, once a veteran is always a veteran. So always remember that to take care of one, and whether they're Operation Desert Storm or a Korean War or World War III, you always remember a veteran to respect it, and um, that's what's so tough. But we constantly learn to live with. So this is the greatest country in the world, and right now with everything going on, especially the Olympics, the beauty part of it is you're seeing the world at its best. If we just put aside all the other things that's going on, the veterans is I know they're smiling because you're getting to see the representation of our great Olympians and skiing, and that's who we are. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is veterans. We always remember whether it be the veterans or their families or the individuals who are representing the families, and then in this case, the representatives of our great country and our great Olympians.
I'm just going to say, because I feel obligated to say this, you can also add in our gold medal winning men's and women's hockey teams. The men won their first gold medal in 46
Yeah, I
years.
know. I know.
46 years, the first gold medal in 46 years. And it was New Jersey Devil Jack Hughes who scored the winning goal. So awesome, awesome, awesome. But yeah, so just not going off onto a tangent, but I'm going to go off onto a tangent. It's my New Jersey Devils, damn it! I'm going to cheer about it. So, Frank, I don't know how much you really want to get into the reason uh, behind this question, but you and your wife, something that you experienced, and you had mentioned that people heal differently, people grieve differently, and you and your wife are living proof of that because you had a situation where um you both had different ways to grieve and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
to and to move yourself towards a I don't want to say way place of healing because you can't heal from what you lost. I mean, but a place of normalcy, the new normalcy.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, it's a place of acceptance, whether you are accepting it uh, in a healthy way or in a negative way. Or the other way would be that this is what happened to me in my life, or sometimes people that go through this look for pity from other people. Um, so I don't know like how many people are watching other than the three of us, if anybody else is. So um, my daughter was sick for 5 years. She developed cancer and she passed away 7 years ago. She was 43 years old back then. She had three children. She was married, the American dream. Uh, my wife had been through this with her brother. So when my daughter was diagnosed, she more or less knew what was going to happen. It's not a good thing. It's this. So to make a long story short, I tried to help her deal with what she was going through instead of letting her grieve the way she needed to grieve and allow me to grieve the way I needed to grieve. That's one of the reasons I became a life coach. She's improved a lot. I've improved a lot. We still have two other children. We still have our six grandkids, which three of them are hers. And life goes on. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You do feel like it it changes. And I'm I love my daughter like she's alive every day. I speak to her. I enjoy her children, and I enjoy her because I still anyway, love her like she's here, um, and that never goes away. Even if I've had issues with my other children when they were growing up, even with her. And one of the things I learned is that your children cannot stop you from loving them. They may say all these things, but they can't stop you from loving them. So,
They can try. They
yeah.
can try.
So, to that being said, though, that I also have helped people uh, that have been through that. It's kind of weird, but I have like four friends in the neighborhood where I live that lost children, all different. My daughter was sick. One of my friends lost his kid in a car accident. Another one was had a heart attack, and we knew what was happening. And it doesn't make it less when it does happen. But I was grateful that she wasn't just ripped out of our lives, like having a heart attack or being in a car accident, because it's like, you see them and talk to them, and then you expect to do that tomorrow too. And it doesn't happen. So life goes on, and I'm grateful that I have her memories and that she was in my life.
Frank, I'm going to ask you this question first, and then I think I'm going to move it around and ask all three of you. But I I have a problem with the usage of past tense when somebody passes on. My grandfather, who has been gone for 40 years now,
You moved on.
he moved on, but he's my grandfather. He's still here because he's still here.
Yeah,
Look,
that's
I
exactly what.
mentioned it a couple times today.
Uh,
This is my grandfather's driver's license from 40 years ago.
it's okay.
It is with me today and every
Yep.
mission for healthy heroes because he is an important part of this. It's always right within reach because he is here. He is one of the reasons that I do what I do. And is is that a potential way, Frank, that you see maybe people can heal a little bit? Is to not consider them gone, because they're never gone out of your heart. So don't try to force them out of your life. Maybe refer to
Heavy.
them
That's
as,
a heavy question. That's a heavy
yeah,
question
yeah. I
because
understand, and that's the
that
reason why I wanted to ask you
that's
first.
up to the individual. What you just said about my grandfather is here. That's where I put my daughter.
Yeah,
I actually have a because I had to figure out like how do I keep going on. So I feel like I have an etching on my heart, and that etching is her. Um, but again, I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from, but that's kind of very difficult to suggest to someone that this is, like what works for me may not work for them. And if I do help someone with that, which I have, and you speak to them and you have, I want to use the term like a meeting of the minds about, okay, so this is what happened to you and this is how you're dealing with it. And can you try this or can you try that? And I agree with what you're saying, but that decision has to be that person's decision. Like what I do. I do not, and it's hard for me because I always try to tell people what they should do, and I try not to use the word should anymore. But the decision that someone makes in helping themselves, I believe they need to make, and the decision that's made, it may be a good one, it may be a bad one, but it's their decision, and that's how life is. That's authentically life, and the other thing is that no matter what happens in our lives, we're going to be okay. As
yeah,
long as we believe we're going to be okay. If you
yeah.
don't believe you're going to be okay, you're not going to be okay.
Right. And I don't, I would never tell anybody that that's what they need to do either. I am just saying that is one way that I think, me personally, that's one of the reasons why, and it took me a long time to admit that, that he's not gone. He's still here.
Yeah,
It took a while for me to figure that out. And then I started feeling better knowing that I could talk to him by simply shutting my eyes and talking,
that's right.
because he could still hear me
Yeah,
because he's here. And so it, to me, is just one of the, I think that's one of the, what I'm trying to get across is this is one of the ways that maybe we could approach people and say, this is one of the things I do, and leave it to the person to
that's right. That's right.
consider,
Yeah,
are they going to do that, or are they just going to say, no, the person's gone, they're not there anymore? And
yeah,
but I really truly feel like, it's kind of, I don't like saying that, somebody used to be a person. No, they're still a person. Even though they're not walking the earth anymore, they're still a person. They still exist. They
I
exist.
used uh, I used the term that they passed on or moved on.
Yeah.
Like and that's how I deal with it.
Yeah. Alan, what would be your thoughts on this conversation?
Uh, well, you know, when it comes to the conversation of someone and loved one, I had the unfortunate situation of having to do with my brother-in-law. He was taken through a hit and run, um, and it's coming up. March of this year will be 6 years. And every time I see another story, it reminds me. I have to relive it. Um, so, like yourselves, I don't try to suggest anybody on what they should do, but what I do know that they are always here. Um, my I carry my brother-in-law's wallet. It was probably among his things, so it's kind of he's with me every day, and that's one of the things that drives me and my wife as a person. as a community. Because one thing about um, my brother-in-law, he was a missionary, and he was constantly always helping others. And so I see it in his sister and my wife every day. And it's just a conversation. And sometimes it's almost just like a car or a vehicle. You have to back up and you have to go forward, and you can't, a person, I don't want to say can't. You just have to be very careful on how you say it. And you can. I've learned to read faces. If it gets too deep, then I back up and kind of just remember the good times. And that's what we try to tell people, to remember the good times, even if the conversation starts going in a direction where it gets very sensitive. We kind of bring up, well, oh, there's favorite music or their favorite, um,
Hmm.
you know,
That's right.
favorite artist music, and I remember him playing the guitar at the time, and he would play. I said, "You can't sing," and I would joke with him. I said, "Please don't sing, but you can write." So he writes, he writes his music and everything, and for me, he's a forever 49. And I agree with you. They're always here. That beyond, every time I see something, and this would probably bring up that when then Elena probably collected this with her beyond the spirit world and her readings and everything. But I do know that the forces of someone actually being there always, I, that I believe 110%. They're looking over you. And
Yeah.
when it gets the toughest, that's them saying, okay, push a little bit, push a little bit further, push a little bit going.
Well, I'm pretty.
That's their way of saying, hey, I've got you.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure, and I think that you brought it up beautifully there. I'm pretty sure that they don't want you to hurt forever, and
No, you're right. You're right.
and I think that they want you to find the acceptance and find as I like the acceptance path there, Frank. I think that they would want you to find the acceptance as comfortably and as easy as you can find it,
Yeah.
and not force you into any other way. Frank, I know that you've got to leave. I just want to again thank you so very much for being part of this program, and I really want to welcome you to the family, and I'm
Thank you.
excited to begin this journey.
So this is on now for another bunch of hours yet.
Yep, we've still got another 12 hours from
All right.
right
So
now.
in 4 or 5 hours, I could come back to this link and come back on.
It's going to be a different link, but actually, we're doing. If you check your email, Frank,
There's
at 4 o'clock, or I'm sorry, at six
six.
o'clock.
Right.
We're doing the family networking at 6 o'clock. So,
Okay.
and you do have a link in your email that I sent you yesterday for that, but
I
it
will
is a
try.
different link.
I will try. It's nice to see everybody too.
Yeah, it would be wonderful to see you again. And Frank, again, thank you for your vulnerability. Real quick, I've just got one question to ask you before I let you go, Frank. If you could ask um, people to do one thing to try to bring everyone together, what would that be? What would you want to improve for us to be better as a human species?
Really simple. Just to be kind to each other.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it,
Anybody's
Frank. And I,
foul weather, check on your neighbors.
yes,
Kind.
that's actually check in is one of the things that we've got, and we've had two people mention checking in with people. So that
Great.
is definitely one of the things that we need to do. Frank, I know that you've got to go. Thank you so very much, and I hope to see you in a couple hours.
Okay. Bye bye, guys.
Goodbye. So, uh, Z, your opinion on what we're talking about right now?
Very spot on. And this topic couldn't have come at a better time. A lot of things that you said with Frank and General Allen, um, the goal isn't just to be in pain for the rest of your life, but appreciate the good times that you have with them. You're probably too young to know her, but Betty White once said, always try to enjoy the good days because eventually they'll turn into goodbyes. And you don't want to just feel the pain because they wouldn't want you to feel the pain as well. And I couldn't agree with you more. And their legacy does live on, and the good times that you had with those loved ones. And I give you kudos, uh, Zach, for having your grandfather in your wallet to remember him in presence wherever you go. And with Frank's stitching of his daughter, and my condolences. And of course, General Allen, for your brother in law. Can't believe 6 years go by so quick, almost 6 years. Soon enough, it's going to be 60 or more years. And my thoughts ultimately are I agree with everything you all said. And if I could just drop one more quote here, again, probably before your time, Bob Marley once said, "When you
Yes,
think when you think positively, everything's going to be all right. So if you do believe that everything's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, brother." And my sentiments are with those who have fallen but not forgotten, because the work, the effort, and the sacrifice that you've done for this country, civilian or veterans, it'll leave a legacy that's everlasting. And having a piece of uh, their footprint in our lives will last forever. So my thoughts are just do good because everything's going to be good. And if you feel that everything's going to be okay, things will get better, then you know it. If you're seeing the darkness, that's all you're ever going to see. But if you see that little speck of that light at the end of the tunnel, you're going to see things, you're going to see a bright future ahead of you and all those that want you to be happy. So, again, my thoughts are just see the bright side and it's all going to be okay. And I agree with everything that you, Zach, General Allen, and Frank said about just keeping your head up and march on, just like our veterans.
so I wanted to bring my dad in here because, as soon as you mentioned Betty White, my dad came into the room. It was something he was waiting to hear. Uh, it's no secret that my dad had a huge crush on Betty White. So, he's a Betty White fanatic. Dad, we've been
Good
talking
to see
this
you, Bob.
last half hour about what is your thoughts. How do you keep from thinking that when someone passes on, how do you accept that? What are some of the things that you do to make sure that you can still remember them? What I do is I never talk to them as they were past tense, because they're not past tense. They're still there. They're still in my heart.
Yep. Part of what makes it easier, if you want to say, which is ridiculous, but uh, if somebody has been in pain, right? I feel that he don't he his pain, their pain's gone, right? So you know, I I feel like their pain's gone. So there's something. Uh, I just believe, I was raised on a farm, okay, so I know life and death. I've seen it before, and I think that kind of may have prepared me for some of the things that has happened. Maybe not. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I mean, I think that everybody, and I'm sorry about this, but I've got a little one who's freaking out right now. So uh,
There they
he's got to get in here and see Grandpa. Matter of fact, they all do. So he's going to get mobbed up here. But um, but anyway, I think in some ways our as we grow up, it really depends on we depend on being taught a lot of times how we accept things. You know, um, I've been I've been on my parents are I think my parents are truly opposite in the way that they deal with the loss of somebody. And so I've seen both ways, and I have a little bit of both ways. I know dad is very spiritual, and I know dad, one of the things that I like to do is I like to talk to my ghosts. I love going and sitting out in the Otis Cemetery and talking to my grandma, my cousin, my aunt, soon to be my Uncle Barry. As soon as we get him out there. But I like doing that. But then there's also that sadness at times that does hit, knowing that they're not physically on this plane, but they're. I always remember. That's when I try to always remember that what they may not be in human meat sack form anymore, but they are in the heart. And Alan, have you? What would you say to any of this?
Like in media, one thing I would say is I agree. Is you have to keep them in your heart, and usually when it's the toughest, and you start remembering, um, like you say, the good times, and whether it's a music or it's ice cream cone or a favorite TV show. I know my wife constantly looks at a lot of the shows that her and her brother grew up with, and she's got me hooked on it a little bit. So I always say, you remember the good times, and you'll get through this. This is a journey. It's not a marathon; it's a journey, in my opinion. And we all go through different journeys, and at some point, um, we are going to be seeing them again. Um, and so I tell everyone on a regular basis, just live life. And there was a good friend of mine, and don't mind sharing his name, Joe Hawk. He was from LinkedIn. He always says, "Leave a person better than you found them." And so that's why every time I meet someone, Mr. Clayton, nice to meet you. I see you're surrounded by the loved ones. Say that always leave a person better than you found them. You know, and if you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
live by
yeah.
those words, then every day is a gem.
Yeah, the family is here. That's for damn sure. So, you know, uh, Grandpa comes downstairs and these dogs, they really freak out. They act like they never see the guy, and they see him quite often. But so, well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both very much. I know that you guys are probably going to be joining us at 6 o'clock, and Alan, 3 o'clock for you for family networking. I look forward to seeing you guys again. But I do want to thank you both very much for joining us again this year. You both have been here for the entirety of this program. When we started it back in 2022, you were here. We're in our fourth year now, and you guys have appeared, and you guys have done a wonderful job. Mr. Z, I'll go with you. Let's give our websites and for Z World Cares and Z World Webs.
Thank you so much. And if I could say this, Pop, it's finally good to see your face, and thank you for your service. Good to see the puppies. I had no idea you uh, were in a farm, and I could see why you grow so many great things of your stories. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about Z World Webs, please feel free to visit zworldwebs.com. But more importantly, show Z World that you care at www.zworldcares.org. And a big shout out to the community pay it forward for making us feel like we are a part of something in our community. Thank you, Zach. Really appreciate you, General Allen, and of course, Pop and the puppies or poppies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen, let's get your website and your email and everything out there so people can contact you.
Well, absolutely. And I echo Mr. Z's incredible shout out to Senior Clayton. Thank you for your service, sir. Um, my website is Build Your Legacy with Alan. yourdestinybeginshere.com or yourdestinybeginshere.com. And I love the yourdestinybeginshere.com website because Mr. Z is very humble, but he's the one who helped put that together with his greatness. And there's a little button on the resources for community pay it forward. So definitely check out that site and let me know how I can be of service to you and your family. But thank you, Zach, again for having us on this incredible journey for all the veterans and their families. I love you and I honor, respect you. Thank you.
Well, I absolutely love both of you, and I appreciate both of you so very much. Just to let everybody know, if you want to learn more about the Community Pay It Forward program, talking to either one of these gentlemen is a perfect way to do that. Mr. Z is the creator of communitypayitforward.us. He is the mastermind behind the website. He's the one who got that up and running, and he's the one who turned it from chaos to a masterpiece. And then of course I got a hold of it and made it chaos again, but still, you know. And Alan is an official member of the Community Pay It. Well, they both are, but they're official members of the Community Pay It Forward family. So they are part of the family, from being giving partners to being, just business partners with us. So if you want to know more about, if you want to learn more about how to become a partner with Community Pay It Forward, get a hold of Alan, and you can help him grow within the company, and you can help us help others. So, gentlemen, again, I look forward to seeing you guys a little bit later on here in about a little less than 4 hours. Z, grab your snow brush, because Kelly said that it looks like you guys are going to get another blizzard. So, Alan, I guess I don't have to tell you to grab a snow brush there in LA, right?
Oh, it's a warm 670 degrees, but that can change anytime now. So
Oh, yeah, you could go all the way to 63. So it's 37 here in Colorado, but you know what? In 2 days, it's supposed to be back up to 70 and then drop the next day to 40. So, ridiculousness. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you so very much to both of you. And I really do look forward to seeing you guys in a couple hours for family networking. So thank you. And we'll talk to you both soon. So, look, those are two, three, four of my favorite people in the world. Okay, you throw my dad in there, and there's so much when it comes to just wanting to make sure that other people are doing okay in that group. Every single one of us has gone through things that we can take, and we don't have to instruct you on what you should do. That would not that's not going to help you. What's going to help you is we can say, look, this is what I've been through, this is what I did. You take this information as you want. If you find it helpful, great. If it's something that's not going to help you at all, I understand. We don't have to do that. So, one of the things that we're working very, very closely with Z World Cares on, and they are actually by the way, if you join the community, if you're a nonprofit and you join as a mission partner in the Community Pay It Forward family, you also will get a listing on Z World Cares. And we do that because we want you to be seen. We've heard a couple people today talk about how small nonprofits just get buried. You listen to the individuals from over in Scotland this morning, and they were talking about how there are, which this number, you know what, is terrible. It's terrible. But when I heard what they said, that the estimate is 2,000 homeless vets in the UK right now. that number's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Our numbers dwarf that. And 5% of their homelessness are veterans. Folks, look at the percentage of veterans that are homeless in the United States. We have to work extremely hard to get to 5%. Look, the truth is, one homeless individual is too many. There are too many resources in the countries today that if we just could get people to them, maybe we could eradicate a lot of this stuff, a lot of the hunger, there are a lot of people out there doing a lot of work. There are a lot of people who are busting their ass every day trying to make lives better for people. If we can just, let me introduce you to this person. If we can guide people, if we can show them the way. Do you know how much good we could do? Well, that is one of the hopes of the Come Together Compass. And here in about it looks like it's going to be about 2 hours. We're going to run a special that I recorded earlier about a real in-depth description of the compass. But right now, and I received this video this morning from the kids at ASU. I almost cussed and called it a wrong college. They probably would have stopped working with me at all. But they wanted to show you where they were at with the Come Together Compass. This is about a 4-minute video. I hope you enjoy it. Well, I hope it plays. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Tyler Thompson at ASU Poly. I'm here to talk to you about our project so far that we're really excited about. So what we have here is called the Come Together Compass. This is the product we're currently developing, of course. So I'd like to show you around and see kind of what the idea of the product is and how we think it can help people that are in need. So right now on the side here, as you can see, these are just sample locations, but the idea is that we're going to have these resources with our partners, where if you are struggling with something or you need help or need assistance, you can come on the compass and find somewhere or something that can help you. And the idea of that is multifaceted. It's this map, it's the resources provided, and it's also a chatbot functionality, which we'll show you in just a second. But for right now, I'll just show you what the idea of it is. So I'm around here, and let's say that maybe at ASU Poly they have some sort of event for people in need. So you can click on here, and it'll focus up on the map. It's just like Google Maps, basically. But if you click on it, you'll see the information about it. The idea is that we have the partners on the side, and they have certain, let's say it's like an event or something to that nature, where they can put it on the map. And then you can see the information here. You can go to their website. You can see a description of it. We're also going to want to implement a video functionality. So if you click on it, it'll go to a YouTube video that the sponsor has recorded as well. But right now, you can just get directions straight from Google Maps. And yeah, that's kind of the idea of the map section, where you can see kind of resources around you in a natural Google Maps way, or in a navigational way in general. And then you can see resources that you need. With this chatbot functionality down here, their name is Chatty. It's just examples for people who have need grounding techniques or breathing exercises. For example, if I type grounding techniques, it'll run through some techniques. Like I said, this is a very basic chatbot functionality right now. We're actually in contact with counseling resources at ASU that can help us flesh out this chatbot a little bit more and maybe give it a bit more features. But the idea of it is, it's not a medical chatbot. It's not AI or anything like that. It's a very simple chatbot that somebody can come here, and if they just need breathing exercises or grounding techniques, they can get it. If there's something more at play, or if there's a crisis situation, we want to be able to forward them to people that can help them. So this is kind of a way to get people the help they need, even if it's just like the smallest bit of help. That's always super helpful. So that's the idea behind the chatbot. So yeah, that's the functionality of the front end for users. How they would interact with this website is through this map functionality as well as a chatbot. It's all developed using open source technology, which is great because we would want to be able to have other people, even in other countries, be able to take this technology and use it wherever they have. So that's just kind of what's great about open source technology in general. But I won't go too much into it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you like what we are making so far, and yeah, thank you.
So that's just a beginning of what the Come Together Compass is starting to look like. And as you saw, there's already a lot in there, and there's so much more to go. Okay. There's going to be a component of where you can take and connect with people in your community to make sure that we have less good items going to landfills. And these items will go to people in the community who need help. So instead of taking a perfectly good couch and putting it into a landfill, we can take and give it to a family that is sitting on crates or sitting on a kitchen table or sitting on the floor. Just because they can't afford to go out and buy a couch doesn't mean they don't deserve one. This is going to be a way that we can take and communicate together to where nothing gets sold. Look, we're not in the business of selling, with the Come Together Compass is not going to have anything to do with selling. It's going to be about giving. It's going to be about connecting and supporting. You're going to have wonderful people in there that offer free services to people in times of desperation. You're going to be able to find somebody who can talk to you, and then we can gauge together where we need to go for the next step. But at least you're going to be seen. We're going to find a way for people to get seen immediately instead of waiting for the 9, 10, 12 days, 3, 4 months down the road. We're tired of people feeling hopeless and giving up. We're tired of people not feeling like they have anything to go forward with. So, our next guests are mainstays, and I love it. I love having them on. Um, I will say this gentleman's story for the Christmas event, Miracle of the Season, still to this day, I'm getting comments about the depth and the heart of his story. And I you know, I think it added a lot, and I think it proves what you can do if you don't give up. So I'd like to first bring on Suzanne Simpson. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful today. How are you?
Well, we are now 11 and a half hours towards the end. So,
Wow, it's a long marathon.
yeah, hey, almost halfway there. Here in 30 minutes, I'm halfway there. So, but everything's moving along. And also joining us right now is our great friend. His show is the second Wednesday of every month, Mr. Les Simpson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I thought that was interesting before. In fact, how is that different of what he's doing? I only caught the last of it. of because when we downsized, we gave a lot of stuff away through a Facebook program. What's it called, Suzanne?
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
No,
We
the
didn't give it
freebie.
away. We actually sold it. Yeah.
No, the giving away
Oh,
through.
that was through the veteran group. Yeah.
No, you had people pick it up at our
Oh,
porch
that was
all
a
the
free
time.
Facebook group that was for a no zero sell. You know, like a,
Right, right. What did it call? What was it called?
I'm not remembering.
Yeah, see,
Okay,
we've actually got an app here in northern Colorado called Greeley Free Site or
okay.
something like that. Yeah, what we want to do though, Les, is we want to make sure we're working real hard to make sure that people aren't getting scammed because unfortunately a lot of times, and with Facebook being like an open platform, there's a lot of potential and it's easier
Oh,
for
sure, sure.
people to scam them. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is we're trying to make sure that people understand, look, when you do this, you make sure you never go anywhere alone. And if you were the one giving
100%.
stuff
Yep.
away, you do not give you don't invite people over to your house unless you've got someone with you and a neighbor watching. Okay,
Sure.
you make sure you are protected at all times
Yep.
because we're very conscious on that. Look, am I naive enough to think that bad things aren't going to happen? Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way of the world right now.
Yep.
But if we can take every step that we can to support people in every way, if we can keep some of these good items out of landfills, if we can
Oh,
help
sure.
families along the way, let's do it,
You bet.
and we can take this program that we're building and really turn it into something special like that. So,
Yep. Yep.
but so Susan, let's start with you today. And let's I know that you are a psychotherapist, correct?
Correct. Hmm.
Correct. What are some of the things that, and I know that you cannot be specific, but in the world that we've got going on right now, what are some of the things that people are really struggling with?
I think that a lot of people today are concerned about the world and where we're headed, and they get consumed with maybe the politics of what's happening and get depressed. So
Yeah.
depression is anxiety is part of depression. I think that's what I see. I see people that are they call them stuck. Stuck in their muck, and they feel that they can't move on in life because they have some deep seated traumas that they've never maybe had to face. So that can create a lot of stress. Some people don't have purpose. They don't feel like their life has purpose because their career path has sort of led them to a dead end, or they don't really know themselves. They don't feel secure in their worthiness.
I know one of the things that with the politics in general, and this is just it's I'm trying to find a nice way to say this, but I can't. It's crazy to me that they'll believe anything that's thrown out there. And I've talked to people before. It's like, well, I just want to give up because there's nothing we can do, and the that's not the truth. We've got to do something. We've got to do something about all of our problems. Once again, if we could work, there's no reason why we can't help everyone. If we work together, there's no reason why. And look, we're never going to have a government where everyone gets along. That's, sorry, hate to, hate to disappoint you, but there's never going to be a government where everybody's going to go, I like this guy. Okay, it's just not going to happen. So, you know, but what are some of the things that we can do that we can do to help other people that are falling into those feelings?
Well, I think, it's kind of the old saying is what you focus on grows bigger. And so I think that when people focus on the news, that, we don't even know what we're getting half the time, because the media is it can be misconstrued. So I think, you know, focusing on things that are going to give you uplifting thoughts, gratitude is very important to have. It actually, they've done studies that it opens up the frontal part of the brain and allows the person to feel more connected to others and themselves and God. So I think, that's important. I think if you recognize that you're depressed, I think you need to seek some help because usually there's some underlying issues that you haven't discovered, and that maybe all this political thing is disrupting something inside you.
Why are people so opposed to accepting help and seeking help?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. I think, there's self sufficiency. People think I can do this on my own,
Yeah.
or they don't want a stigma against them. But I mean, gosh, you know, if we don't get counsel, even the Bible says, seek out a number of counselors. So I think, we're to be dependent on people that can maybe have taken us through those problems, or maybe have been through the problems themselves, is what I meant to say. And then they can best steer you. So I think financial is a concern. A lot of people feel like they can't afford it. But I will say this: some of the methods I've learned are short term. I can teach them so they can do it on their own, and they don't necessarily have to go to, the veteran counseling because sometimes they haven't learned some of these more I guess, energy methods or things that really do move people through their emotions because emotions shouldn't be avoided. They're God given and you need to move through emotions. So if you've had post traumatic stress or you've had, a depression, it's really the absence of feeling. And that's what I think people need to understand that it's not, you're not going to be stuck in it. You're going to be stuck in it if you stay there, if you don't seek out help.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong here. Um, are insurance companies, should they take a majority of the blame because they are making it impossible for people to seek help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have a good job and have insurance coverage, then you're kind of feel like, you're at the mercy of insurance. But I think our system is probably archaic in that they don't really deal effectively anyway with emotions and how to deal with trauma. It's more, how do you manage your life? It's more crisis management and then if you don't have insurance, you're, like I said, you don't have maybe the financial resources. But there are ways to get, counseling without having to depend on on the, insurance.
Well, let me ask you, just for the benefit of everyone. Can you share with us some of those resources, please?
Um, well, through certain churches offer
Mhm.
some free counseling. Some ministries offer what they call deliverance ministries, but they're for Christian mostly, but not necessarily. So I have a handful of those kind of resources that I can refer to. Um, and then some people offer sliding fee scales, which is very helpful if you can't, maintain a high level fee. Um, there are I think it's more just finding like support groups out there. There are support groups for people that have PTSD or have depression or codependency or alcohol problems.
And I
If
know
I
that.
might mention something here,
Yeah, yeah. Please, Les.
if you're a veteran, if you Google free EFT sessions. There are quite a few organizations out there that offer free ones, especially 5. And emotional freedom technique is a huge, successful technique for people to learn to do with themselves, but especially, give you an idea, because I was studying to be a consultant in it, and I decided not to continue it because I'm the type of person that wants to give a person how to fish rather than the fish. And EFT has a lot to do with giving fish all the time. But emotional freedom technique, if you're a veteran, I just Googled it. There's quite a few organizations now that offer, like EFT Universe, the one that I was studying, they offer free 5 sessions to the veteran and the spouse. And give you an idea as far as trauma on that, when I was studying it, everybody that comes back from war and has trauma, there's one of 2 reasons. They either did something they felt they shouldn't, or they didn't do something they should. And that's the 2 definitions of trauma. And there was one veteran that every single time a loud noise happened, he had to dive to the floor, and he woke up at night with screams and everything else. And this was 30 years. And he went to an EFT workshop. And what we found was when he was on patrol with his friend, they made a joke and decided he was on the right side all the time and his friend was on the left. And they decided, well, we're going to switch it this time. Well, that's the day that his friend got his head shot off. And he blamed himself for that. And what this does, EFT, is it brings in grace and peace from the Lord to solve those problems. And now there's some of it that actually calls it that. There's some of them that doesn't. But Christ is the only one that can give that resolution. And so anyway, once he found that out and was able to get peace from that, within 3 weeks, his wife and I was back together, and he had a normal job. And 30 years it hadn't happened. So if you're a veteran, you can get free EFT sessions just by Googling it. But EFT Universe and a few others I just Googled, which is huge for helping any trauma. And it can actually take you out of fight or flight in 3 minutes' time.
Les, I'm going to ask you a question that I think a lot of people who are not spiritual have always wanted to ask, but I'm not sure if anybody has ever asked it. So I
Sure.
could sound like a complete fool here. I could sound, this could go a lot of ways here, but what is it about the concept of God? What is it about the concept of belief in the Lord that helps people deal from day to day? What is it about their belief in the Lord that helps people out?
Well, it's the same thing as Alcoholics Anonymous. They have to agree there's some type of force above them that knows what they're, how to help them. And then that force, some people call it God, some people call it the universe, different
Mhm.
things. But once they understand something's above them that knows more than they do, that's when the healing can happen. Because unfortunately, we're taught in school and everything else be individuals and to be number one and push the other person down and so forth. And that's not God. And so that's one of the big things is once a person really submits to the fact, and some people have to go all the way down. I know I did. I was ready to commit suicide at 17. And that's when the Lord stepped in and, said, I'm here. And
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people have to go all the way down to the very, very bottom before they'll give up and say help.
Suzanne, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, I agree. I think it seems like when we're in pain, we reach out. But if you just believe there's a supernatural power that can uplift you, that's really what we're talking about here. It doesn't have to be Jesus Christ or God the Father. It's more, I can't manage it on my own. So I surrender to a higher power that can do that for me. And when you do that, that's why the 12-step program works so well, is that people have to come to that, they call it bottoming out, where they can't do it on their own. They're not self-sufficient.
I think it's I think it's kind of funny the way that that you both just explained this, because I've said for a long time, and I am not a religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. Okay, I am very religion curious. I am very curious about all religions, just because I think it's really interesting the way that people think. All I do know is that there is something a hell of a lot stronger and a hell of a lot more powerful than I. Because I look at my now 5 children and 7 grandchildren and know there's something a hell of a lot more powerful than I that created these beautiful creatures.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. And there's something, and of course, my sons being the Claytons they are, they're them being dad's boys, always say, yeah, dad, it's called science. But I tend to look at them and go, you know what, it's got it, there's more than just that. Okay. Because I know their moms and I know their dad, and there had to be something else out there. All right. Just saying. So,
Well, I'm
but
glad you can see that. Yeah,
yeah, you
that's
know,
important. It's not just evolution of, how people evolved. It's more a creator that is involved in every aspect of life.
yeah, and I think I appreciate that you two are very God fearing. You two are very spiritual, and even religious. You two believe strongly in Jesus Christ. But I love the fact that you are also understanding that there are other people who believe in different things. And it's not the be all end all to where you're going to sit there and go, well, you don't believe in Christ. Well, I don't want to talk to you. And I think that that is one of the things that is hurting people today
Yeah.
is, well, I can't talk to this person because if I don't believe in, you know, if I don't believe in Christ, they're just going to tell me I'm wrong. And that's that's how my problems will be saved, is if I just believe in Christ. And I think that puts a lot of people off right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
And what would you say to the people who are trying to force, and I don't want to just say Christians, I want to say anybody who wants to try to force their beliefs down on someone?
Well, I think that immediately creates resistance, and I know, especially as parents, if you raise kids that way, they can rebel. Because I talked to a lady today that said she'd raised 4 kids and they all have gone their own separate way, separate from the way they were raised in faith. So I know, I was talking to Les about it. I thought, well, she's probably was too rigid with them, too in their face with religion. I think people just need to see that you love them and you care about them. And we do that in our family, with Les's daughter and her kids, and the kids are starting to come to us, and ask questions and say, "Can you pray for me for this?" And I think it's just because we've been consistent to care about them.
Less.
Yes.
Or what would you tell people be who are trying to be forceful?
Well, a lot of times it's through ego. They want to believe that they don't need it, and when they don't believe that they don't they don't need it and they're above others. They want to force other people to do it instead of being humble and submissive. And that's one of the things even Christ said, that when people be willing to talk to people when they ask you, but he does say be very humble when you do it, because it's not you. It's the Lord inside of you. And if you ever take credit for it, that's when people, get the wrong impression. And it's kind of like, well, my story and so forth. It's all the fact that He's helped me. And when people see that, I guess one of the things that I really want people to understand, and that is, once they understand that there's a power higher than them, if they start looking in their life, they'll see all kinds of examples of it. And then they can start understanding, okay, somebody's been looking after me for a long time, way above my ability. And it might be the fact that the car accident was avoided by 10 inches. It might be the fact, which I think it's absolutely unbelievable, when a forest burns down and one house is in the middle of it and didn't get touched.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's grace. And
Yeah.
it's just like the big Thompson flood. I knew some people that had a house up there, and it pushed a tree, tore it down and pushed it 5 feet from their front door, and then it stopped. And so, I mean, if that isn't grace, it's something far beyond that we can understand. But that's one of the things, when you start opening your mind to see that, there's a book out called Small Miracles. And if you look at the small miracles, in fact, that's one of the things we were actually talking about many years ago. I was very angry at the Lord because nothing was coming my way and I was looking for miracles. And one morning He said, look at the small things. And when I started doing that, you see that there's a power far beyond you every day. And then once that happens, and we can see how, I think that the biggest thing that people are afraid of, which is unfortunate, and that's one of the things EFT teaches you when you're tapping and you're talking to this power that's far beyond you, is you get to have the best friend you ever had. That's the big thing. The best friend that you can tell everything, but the best friend that has the ability to change you and the universe and so forth. If you want to call it universe, He doesn't care. He built it. If you want to, the step of the universe is in charge of everything, no problem, because it goes through that. So if that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Why is it that it takes? And you just mentioned this. Why is it that it takes people hitting rock bottom to find the Lord?
Well, I think we're just self sufficient people. I think you see that throughout all society. People want to be their own boss and take control. I think until they recognize I can't do it on my own, that's what I see usually. But I think it doesn't always happen that way. I don't think for myself, I think I was depressed and I felt like I needed to find something to help me live my life. And my parents would say, well, you need to read the Bible. And I would like, well, I don't understand the Bible. It's like an ancient book of history. But I just found that I needed a relationship that could help me have hope and encouragement and reclaim the unworthiness that I felt inside.
Okay. And Les, would you like to add anything to that?
Um, the only thing is, with this new assessment and the workshops that I'm doing, it's people mouth it that they believe they were created, but when it gets down into details, a lot of people, well, that's my choice. Well, it's kind of like if a fish has a choice to get out of the water and lay on the table, it's going to die. And if it stays in the water where it was designed, it lives. And that's one of the things that uh, on the workshop and so forth that I'm doing now is when I tell people that. And that's one of the things that I do believe this workshop, especially with the assessment, this assessment really shows people who they were designed to be. And when you see that, uh, I know with mine, you'll have to ask Suzanne with hers, but when I had the assessment done, it really showed me, well, first off, I know it's God, and I saw that this is who I am and what I'm good at and what I enjoy and so forth, and over here what I wasn't. And so that's one of the conversations I had with a woman this week. And she does not believe, and I feel sorry for her, that we were created to do certain things. She thinks it's all free will. She thinks if a person wants to become an architect, all they have to do is study harder. Well, it doesn't work that way. If we don't have what's in it to be an architect, then it was actually proven when you try to study something, all it does is cause stress, if that isn't who you are. And so I think the biggest thing is uh, it's kind of like Suzanne said, we're taught in this country to be 100% self sufficient. And that's one of the things that social has a little bit over us is it's all about community and taking care of each other. Of course, the United States is taking care of yourself and then your community after that. But it's what we were taught and by our family and so forth. And it takes, well, that's one thing JW talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Even once people start understanding the way their brain was, what every single, he said, little kids, their brains are open to all this stuff because that's who they are. But as you quit being who you are, gradually the different connections of the brain break down and disappear. And so when you learn this new stuff, it takes a while to rebuild the brain when you start thinking the right way. And so it all has to do with what we've allowed ourselves to believe and follow. And so once we believe and follow to the point where we have nothing left, that's when I think the Lord comes in and says, well, here's a hand. Are you wanting to get out of the mud yet?
Yeah. Okay. Were you wanting me, Les, and I'm sorry, we didn't talk about this, but I've got it queued up if you were wanting me to play your
Yeah,
assessment.
yes. I would
If
like you to play that 90-second because I want to talk about the workshop.
Okay, yeah, all I've got is like the 26-minute one.
Oh, no, I emailed you one right before this.
Oh, did you? Okay, let me look in my email here real quick.
And we could do that, but this one is kind of short and it kind of talks about the workshop. And I'd love to have people if they want to help other people with this workshop.
Okay, well, let me go on ahead and pull this up real quick, and I can share this one out.
Because this is going to be the introduction to the workshop I told you about.
Okay. So let me go on ahead and share this out, and I will pull you guys off screen so we can watch this.
Sure.
Um, there it is. So let me pull us off. We're going to go on ahead and we're going to watch this real quick, and then we will all be back. Les can talk about it, and we'll figure it out from there. So this is about a 96-second video, and we will be right back.
What's our potential? How would we see our life when we maximize performance and profit? When we connect with our potential that was designed into us, It allows us to experience not only our work, but also our relationships at an enjoyable level. The workshop and assessment give us a chance to get reacquainted with who we are designed to be by the universe or God or whatever our belief system. The 3-hour workshop is separated into 3 days so our brain can absorb the new motivation and behavior change. J.W. Wilson, my mentor and author of Cracking the Learning Code, was not only known as the world leader in this science, he built $21 million businesses and taught Mayo Clinic's doctors to connect with their patients, among many other things. This is Les Simpson with enhanced team performance. Below in the details is a flyer of the workshop, also is a white paper and testimonial of the assessment. Included is a video of my assessment so we can see the 6 areas of life that we work with. And the assessment was created in the 80s and was proprietary to the Fortune 500 for 30 years. Now I'm bringing it to companies and individuals that want to maximize their work and relationships. Get back with my team leader that sent you this video to join their workshop.
Okay. What you want to go on ahead and take it from here, Les, and tell us about what we just heard?
Sure. Well, first off, I want to talk about the assessment. Assessment's been around since 1980. And what it does is it shows us 6 areas in ourselves that we work with every day in our work, relationships, and growth. And the assessment, and now I have not yet, I just put this video up. Later, when you go to Zach's website, you'll be able to click this, and then they'll have the links that I just said. My assessment, which we can play part of or all of if we want to do that. The other thing is we were designed by the universe or God or whatever to do well in life. And it's been proven that if we are clarify that, some of us are architects, some of us are mechanics, some of us are musicians, some of us can make split-second decisions at 250 miles an hour and be a race car driver. I can't imagine doing that.
No.
But some of us were designed that way. And so once we see what we were designed to be and our potential, that's the whole thing, our potential. And who gave us that potential? We were designed. And the reason we were designed with all these different things is if you're an architect, are you ever going to need a mechanic? Of course. If you're an architect, are you going to want somebody to make music so you can listen to it? Of course. We're all a community. And if all of us were architects, who would ever be the mechanic? And so we were all designed by the universe, God, to be in a community, support each other. And we were all, and that's one of the things that JW went into at-risk schools. And he told the kids, hey, you were designed to be such and such. And this is your value, because the kids didn't have any value. That's why they joined the gangs and were in the drugs and so forth. But this workshop for individuals, what I'm really looking for is leaders. I charge $299 for the workshop, and it consists of 3 1 hours, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's because of the way the brain receives the information and absorbs it. And I'm looking for leaders to host it. If you bring people on a minimum of 5, you get it free. 5, I charge $299. So we've got I share $100 with the host, and minimum of 6 people, because this is interactive. This is not a presentation. This is a workshop where I'm going to get people connected with their emotions. And once a person's connected with their emotions, it goes long term. And then if you get 10, then of course you get 900. And if you get 20, that's the max it goes, because it is interactive. Then you'll have $1,900. But the other thing is, once I get that up there, I want you to read the white paper. I want you to look at my assessment. Because people need this. People need to understand that they're created and they have a spot in life. In fact, JW told me that 60% on jobs are looking for another job because they're not fulfilled and they don't understand who they are. So anyway, that's what the workshop is going to be. And then once a person sees, we're also going to cover the 6 areas of what the assessment does, what we actually are designed inside to do, to create. And I'll give you those 6. First off is, where do we belong on a team that's either building a product or solving a problem? And by the way, that team might be your family. This is not just for work. The Fortune 500, and I want you to really listen to this. The Fortune 500 employees use this for 30 years. And once they found that this assessment allowed them to get along better with their team, because now they saw their value and their potential, then they had their spouse take it. And they said it saved hundreds of marriages, because now the spouse was able to see something about their other spouse that first off, they didn't believe, because they thought the person just wasn't trying hard enough. And they found out it wasn't part of them. And so it's for all relationships. In fact, the assessment is designed for 16 and up. So you have teenagers that would love to let you see their value of who they really are inside. And so anyway, it can be used for leaders, HR consultants, because I want to get it back into the bigger companies, executive recruiters. And if you want to partner with me, he's got the information there. And you can host it and bring in people, and you do the hosting. I come on, and next month I'm doing it for the San Francisco Chamber. Because another thing it does, this is a video assessment. We tell all about how to read it and so forth. You've heard of the DISC and you've heard of the Myers-Briggs. Those are 2 assessments. Now you look at this, okay, this one sounds neat, this one sounds neat. How do I combine them? And ours takes 6 areas in our life into effect and actually shows what job we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, what team we should be on, if we should be working in quiet or a bullpen. It tells it all. And so the assessment everybody should have, because it really shows who they are, their potential, and where they can go. And so that's the third part of it. That's the first part. Where do you fit on the team? Are you the idea person? Are you the person that takes the idea to what we call a prototype? It's actually usable. The next one is, do you take the prototype and make it a sellable item where it's out there? And once it's out there and being sold, okay, how do we make it better? That's a refiner. And once everybody has created this and it's doing well, then we need a maximizer, which makes everything run smooth all the time. Okay. Now, once a person determines where they're on the team, now it is how they interact with people. There's a director, there's a persuader, there's a cooperator, and there's an analyzer. The director wants to get the job done. So the persuader works with the director to help other people do it. And then the cooperator wants to get everybody together to do it well. And the last one is the analyzer says, no, we got to follow all the rules of doing it. So it takes all 4. And the next is the temperaments, how they receive information, how they work with others, and how they develop the information into an answer or a solution. Those are the 3 outside. Then we have 3 inside. The big one is why. Why do we do things? Well, there's 18 different things that we do. Like one is persuasion. One is developing something mechanical. There's 18 different things that we have why. And okay, let's say I want to develop something mechanical. Then I have to figure out, okay, do I have interest in cars? Do I have interest in repairing a jet? Do I have interest or whatever? And so that's the next part that we tell what has been built into us. And the last part is the ability. Do I have the ability to learn electronics or do I have to stick with the mechanical? And that's what this does. It shows the potential of who we were designed to be. And one of the things it did for me is, again, realizing that I was created to fit someplace. So many people are trying to find out where they fit. In fact, one of the big things they're trying to do is win contests because I'm better than somebody else. Now that's where I fit. No, that just causes a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And all these organizations with sales contests absolutely destroy their salespeople because they can't be at the top. They quit. So that's what the assessment and the workshop's about.
So what is something this assessment taught you? Les and I have talked about this assessment quite often. What is something that this assessment taught you? What is something that you were unexpected? What is something that maybe was unexpected that you learned? And what was something that you were like going, well, duh? So
Right.
those are the three questions I got. Something that, well, of course, something that was unexpected, and something that just really shocked you.
The one that was unexpected is I'm not the idea person. When everybody's coming up with all these things. Now, it doesn't mean that, let me clarify. I, of course, can see something and say something should be made, but I have no concept how to solve a problem until I see something abstract, something to look at. I'm not the idea person. Once they develop something, I'm the refiner. I'm going to find out the best way to improve it. That kind of, because I'm not the person that invents out of thin air. I'm not the idea person. I'm also not the designer that brings it to a prototype. I do have some developer in me, which means I can bring it to market and then the refiner. The part that's really showed me with all of my experience that was, oh yeah, of course that's me, is I can be the leader of any group that is a creative problem solving. That's me. Put me as a leader in front of a bunch of people that want to figure out how to solve a problem. I'm the leader there, and the other one that what was the third one?
Uh, Something that surprised you, or just something that it taught you that you had that you'd always let's change it up a little bit. Something that surprised you, or something that you kind of knew but you were questioning, and it reaffirmed in your mind.
Okay, this is the one that Suzanne wished I was different. Uh,
I like this. She perked up on that.
I'm absolutely excellent with working people on the job. Suzanne wished I was excellent working with people socially. I'm not. I'm the job person. I'm the get things done person. And she wished I was able to go out and get a lot of people socially to do different things. And so that's one of the things that she found out about me. And the other thing she found out was she wants me to be able to connect into people's emotions socially and so forth. And she found out that that's not me. And when she talks about how she can go into a room and read all of the emotions of people, and she had talked to him about that, and he said he just doesn't have it in him. And so hopefully that helped her to realize that what she's been a little disappointed with our 24 years of marriage is just not me. Honey, do you want her to talk about hers?
Yes, yes, I would love to hear what she has to say. Like I said, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. I'd love to get the I'd love for Suzanne to talk a little bit about what she has learned. And like I said, again, the questions are: what is what is wow, really? And then what is something that you kind of thought you knew, but it reaffirmed?
Okay, well, assessments aren't real new to me, but the way we kind of did a whole battery of ones was new to me. But I think the one thing that stood out was the guy that interpreted said, usually a person that has this particular temperament doesn't always fit as well into the counseling arena. And yet my interests and abilities and all that were in the coaching and the counseling arena. So, the reason he said was because I was really, really high in the level of feeling and not so much thinking. So when I'm working with people, I don't try to analyze, as much, even though I think I have that left brain capability. I try to move them just really into their feeling. And I think, the kind of work I do now is much more geared that way. So that confirmed that, that was why I didn't feel good in traditional talk therapy. So that was interesting. I think the other thing was interesting was that married to someone that's the high director, typically their avoidance is chaos. And so a lot of times when Les will say, that can't be done, I just immediately have knee jerk reaction because I feel like, oh, I'm all about possibilities and seeing what can be done. And he's putting a clamp on it. And what the interpretation of that was that he's avoiding chaos. And so I didn't know that that was part of a director, that they're always kind of avoidance of that, even though they're very leader, directive, future oriented people. So those were interesting for me. And I think just in general, coming up with a statement of who I am and my value, it confirmed a lot. It confirmed why I do what I do.
You you both have talked about something that is shocking to the other person. Does this annoy you guys, or does it allow you to help work on this with each other? Les, you tell a wonderful story about wind chimes.
Yep.
And you know what? And I know a lot of people have heard this story, but I'd love for you to tell this story because I think it really tells the beauty of what this can do.
Well, actually, this was long before I took the assessment. This is when
Uh,
I was working with JW.
okay, but
Um,
there's a lot of similarities
yes,
in this assessment.
100%. Yeah, and that's why I love this assessment because with everything I've learned from JW, I educate on it all the time. And now the assessment completes everything on who a person is. But the story was we had in our old home, we had wind chimes on our back porch. And 3 different nights, when it gets windy, of course, they chime. And I had to get up and get them down before it woke up Suzanne or the dog. And after 3 times, I asked her, "Can we get rid of these?" And she says, "No, those were birthday present." And then once I understood how important it was, because see, one of the things that JW has put me on the path, we were designed to get along with each other. We were designed to connect into the meaning network, what was meaningful to the other person. and that is our value system. And so once I've understood that we were really supposed to connect to others, the I've listened for ways to do it as long, especially ones that doesn't take much effort or sacrifice. And so when she said, "Well, no, those are important to me," then from then on, I said, "Okay, I can get up and take them down. It's not that big a deal." And but the whole idea was we've been taught competition. We've been taught to be better than other people. That's what the school system, and that's one of the things that JW in his book, Cracking the Learning Code, talks about. Is first off, our education, both the public and the business education, is very antiquated. They're using the same thing that Aristotle and Socrates did. At that point, they were the only ones that knew anything. And so they're sit down, shut up, listen, and memorize, and give me back what I told you because nobody else knew anything. They didn't allow anything for individuality or emotions or anything else. And so our public education system, when we go in, as kids and so forth, we've loved bugs, we've loved the sky, we've loved everything. And when we go into school, they sit us down, they give us a book, and they say, "Now we have a curriculum we got to get you through in 12 years. And we don't care about your imagination. You're going to do what we say. And if you do, we're going to give you good grades. And if you don't, we're not. We're going to give you bad grades." And then other people in class that have good grades, are going to think less of you, and you're going to think better than the people that does. So it's completely competition against each other. And so, but the brain wasn't designed that way. It was designed to be part of a community. It was designed to help each other out. And so that's one of the things when I read this and heard from JW and listened to his talks, uh, and he had a lot of personal meetings with me because he saw right away that I was getting it. And so after 3 weeks of studying it, his course came out and I started studying it and talking to him and so forth. It was only 3 or 6 weeks when this came up with the chimes. And so when she said that, I realized I could hear it in her voice. It was important to her. And so it wasn't much big sacrifice for me. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And
And by the way, Suzanne is the same. She's in the last year or two, she's acquiesced and tried different things that she hadn't done before. And so it's interesting how things are changing between the two of us. And I explain to her all the time what I'm learning, which goes along with her psychotherapy, but some of the is far beyond that. And even on the EFT, when I was being certified in it and so forth, I was expanding her understanding of a lot of the EFT. And but it does say that I'm supposed to be super good with people, but that's more on the job. I've never been it socially.
okay, okay. Well, I want to thank you both for again being a huge part of what we're doing here on Mission for Healthy Heroes. One of the last question that we're asking people, and Susanna, I'm going to ask you this first. We're looking to build this come together compass and make it the best way to find these resources like the churches that you were talking about that offer this support to people, that offers the couches and stuff like that, and that's going to suggest to people, hey, while we're looking for somebody for you, have you tried journaling? Have you tried have you thought about taking a walk? Have you thought about doing all this other stuff? And get them in the busy mind space so they're getting out of their own head. What would one thing be, if you could suggest one thing that we make sure that we try to take care of? What would that one thing be?
Take care of emotionally? Is that what you're asking?
Well, emotionally, or
Or,
like we've got suggestions that it said, we've had people say something like, make sure that we ask questions of them, and get to know them very well, or offer check-ins, or open lines of communication. Try to find ways to open lines of communication, access to services, and of course, be kind. These are just kind of some of the other suggestions that other people have had.
yeah.
What would you?
Well, I think what comes to mind are like small community groups. I don't know what you offer
Yeah,
there.
that's perfect. That is perfect.
Yeah, and maybe you have one person in the group that kind of leads it that's been a little bit more advanced in their, dealing with their recovery of whatever it is, post-traumatic stress or depression, or just where they can kind of peer consciously connect with those people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that idea. I really really do. Les, same question. What would you want to make sure that we take and we offer with the community compass, with the come together compass?
Um, getting comfortable, and this is a process. Getting comfortable with our emotions to the point that we can talk about them. And the biggest one to talk about is the one that you're probably right now afraid of. When you find that, whether it's the problem I have with the universe, the one problem I have with the universe, nobody asks the universe for anything except for physical things. Have a house, have a car, have whatever. And they don't credit the universe for not allowing them to have the car. They don't credit the universe for um, the hardships that they need. That's the only problem I have with people saying the universe controls everything. Is they only want a sugar daddy to give them things. And so the biggest thing is getting comfortable with our emotions. And by the way, anybody can go to Amazon and buy a book on EFT for $10, um, and start learning the emotions inside yourself. Um, that would be the big one. Plus the fact that, and um, there's another book by Nathaniel Brandon. If you could hear what I cannot say, it's sentence completion technique. And it really goes into all the hidden emotions inside of us. So the big thing is ask for help to get comfortable with emotions and realize it's the only vehicle you have that can allow you to grow.
Boy, I'll tell you this: if I were to answer the that open question on that book, sometimes, I'm not sure how much that would actually help people. But anyway, well, Suzanne, and Les, I want to thank you both so very, very much. Thank you again. We will. I will attempt to try to fit in um, that information about your sorry, I'm dropping the word here, but that I'll try to fit that video in later on this evening, and I'll give some context to it so people understand what we're talking about. But I do want to thank both of you for being vulnerable, and I want to thank you very much for
Sure.
joining us again this year. And just thank you very much for being a part of the family and taking part in this mission. So, uh,
Great.
but I love and support both of you, and I look forward to talking to you next time. So,
Sounds good.
all
All
right.
right. Thanks, Zach.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Again, you can catch Les every second Wednesday on his show, the Les Simpson Show. And you can come on and you can watch us as we talk more about everything that he was just talking about, and how neurologic, the neuroscience behind sales, and there's so much to it. And I think the really important thing that that he talked about is how schools, their job was not to teach us. Their job was to cram stuff into our skulls and say, you need to remember this until the final. Then I don't give a damn what you do with it. Of course, you might have to learn it again next year. I learned, and this is personal. This is me saying this personally, okay? This isn't saying this is everybody. This is just me saying this, that I learned. When I got out of school and I found the stuff that mattered to me, when I got out of school and I found out what interested me, I started learning it, and I know now. It's dug into my skull and I can't get it out quick enough. So anytime we go to listen to something, or anytime I have a conversation with somebody about something that I have any iota of knowledge about, I just start spitting out stuff, and it's amazing, because that wasn't me when I was in school. So, but the neuroscience behind sales is a wonderful, wonderful program, and we will play his. We'll play his video later, which shows people exactly what he found out about himself. And we'll play that later on this evening. We've been talking a lot about the Come Together Compass, and now I'd like to play a video as we wait for our next guest. This is just a 3.5-minute video that talks and shows you a little bit more about what the Come Together Compass is. By the way, you can read everything there is to know about the compass right here using this square, using this QR code. Yep, just called it a square. Starting to lose it. It's starting to fade. But you can learn more about the compass if you scan this code, and it'll tell you more. You can help us by donating to the program by using our PayPal. Any donation is greatly appreciated. We need it. We beg of you, if you can donate, please do. This is what is going to be the most important website ever created.
Life hits fast. Crisis doesn't wait. And too many families face hardship alone. But what if one community, one movement, could guide people from crisis to stability and finally home? The Come Together Compass was created for one reason. No one should face hardship alone. Families are overwhelmed. Nonprofits are stretched thin. Businesses want to help but don't know where to start. Resources exist, but they're scattered, confusing, and hard to access. The purpose of the Come Together Compass is simple: to guide people from crisis to stability by uniting the community around them. The compass removes confusion, connects families to real help, gives businesses a meaningful way to give back, and builds a culture where compassion is the norm. At the heart of the compass is a belief. When we work together, we guide people home. Home isn't just a place, it's safety, it's support. It's knowing someone cares enough to walk with you through the storm. The North Pillar is physical needs, providing real, immediate help: food, clothing, household essentials, transportation, emergency resources. When crisis hits, people don't need a maze, they need a map. The compass gives them a clear path to support. The East Pillar is emotional needs, because hardship isn't just physical. People need connection, encouragement, and strength. The Compass offers peer support, check-ins, and mental wellness resources. Help that feels human, not transactional. The South Pillar is community connection, building long-term stability. The Compass links families to nonprofits, business partners, volunteers, and community events. This is how crisis becomes stability, and stability becomes empowerment. And the West Pillar is the promise of the Compass, the commitment that no one will be left behind. Every family will be met with dignity. Every partner will be valued. Every act of kindness will guide someone closer to home. The Compass serves families and individuals facing hardship, nonprofits who want to collaborate, businesses who want to give back, donors and volunteers who want to make a real impact. The Compass matters because people are struggling silently, because resources are scattered, because good people want to help but don't know where to start, because community should mean something. This is more than a program. It is a beacon, a guide, a promise. Join the movement, support a family, partner with the Compass. Help us guide people home.
Okay, so we have a guest who has yet to show up. And as I go to try to track her down, what we're going to do is we're going to play Les's assessment right now. And if our guest shows up, that's great. We will interrupt the assessment and we will have her on, and then we'll get back to the assessment later. But until then, here is the example of what you can expect if you take Les Simpson's assessment and learn more about what they've got going on. So thank you for joining the Mission for Healthy Heroes. I will be back at the top of the hour. As soon as this assessment is over, this stream will stop and we will get started again on the other side. So with the new stream, so just be ready to keep your eyes on wherever you're at, and it'll switch over to that program. So here's Les Simpson's assessment. Thank you very much for joining us. We have about 10 hours to go. Well, it's still 10 and a half, but we're going to say 10 because I like my sanity.
And we will begin the analysis. We will start with the motivator role. The motivator role is the point where you become motivated in a given project, but also includes the point where you lose motivation. If you ever observed a relay race at a track or swim meet, you know that each leg of the race requires athletes with distinct specialties. The first runner or swimmer needs to be the most explosive, quick off the starting block, and driven to get out in front as early as possible. The second and third must be coordinated at taking the handoff of the baton and carefully timing their start so as not to leave too early or too late. The final athlete or anchor is usually the one who responds best to the pressure of the final lap, knowing that the race is theirs to win or lose. Which leg or phase of a project do you prefer to work on? Do you like to be in on the start of things when people are still talking about ideas and possibilities? Or are you better suited to something that is up and running, where the expectations are clear and the circumstances are well defined? In this particular case, our client is a dominant refiner. These other numbers in the designer and developer will come into play at various times, but they're not as dominant for him. He will always come to this role. So what is a refiner? The refinement role is primarily fulfilled by maximizing the potential of an existing product or service, shaping it into a system that is consistent and productive. Quality is the name of the game. If there is additional potential to extract from a person, program, product, or organization, the refiner stays motivated. But once that maximizing objective has been achieved, the refiner loses interest and wants to hand things over to a custodian, typically a maximizer. And in this particular case, the client is 0% maximizer. So that would not be where we would want them to be spending their time. Now, the thing about the refiner is because they're always looking for efficiency and perfection, if you will, they're going to be misunderstood by people on this side of the motivated role. Creatives and designers are all about birthing new idea and change and things that are incomplete and not fully thought out. Refiners can have the tendency to be seen as overly critical, though what they're really trying to do is simply make sure that it works. There is a potential for this person's motivations to be misunderstood. When they are partnered with somebody who is a dominant developer, in this case would have to be 60, 70, 80%, where they have a good working knowledge and working relationship with them, now we have the maximum potential of the refiner. When the critical opinions are necessary, the developer can then go to the refiner and ask for their opinion. But hold that judgment, hold those observations during the creative process when the idea is in its research and development organic stage. So coupled with a high developer, the refiner in this particular case can be extremely productive and is always welcomed. I personally am very fond of refiners because they find what I have done wrong and ultimately wind up making it a little bit better. We now move down to the impact style. The impact style reflects your preferred way of trying to influence or shape other people. In all your dealings with others, it's important to feel that your presence matters and your preferences are honored or at least getting heard. The means you use in asserting your personality is called your impact style. Impact style is vitally important for understanding human relationships. When you are free to impact others in ways that are natural, you tend to feel optimistic. You feel confident that your values have a good chance of being fulfilled. On the other hand, if your impact style is blocked, you tend to feel anxious and probably even angry. You sense that your personhood is not being acknowledged and your desires will not be fulfilled. Knowing your own impact style as well as the styles of the people with whom you live and work can help you relate to others in more productive ways. For example, instead of writing somebody off as bossy just because they tend to take charge and give orders, you can learn to value their style as a director. Likewise, instead of accusing the person who seems to be a stickler for getting things perfect, you might learn to appreciate their impact style as an analyst. Understanding other people's impact styles helps us to appreciate how their unique temperaments seek to be seen, heard, and felt to have an impact. In this particular case, our client is a dominant director. Directors are one of the most widely misunderstood and oftentimes not appreciated of the four impact styles. At 60%, this is a very dominant style. There will be a natural conflict between a director that is highly motivated to address chaos that is undergoing and an analyst that is perceived to be impeding that progress. I would strongly recommend that this particular client study the analyst design. They will find that analysts are going to be great partners if they can learn how to work with them, not push them into decisions that are premature, and to be able to benefit from the research and analysis that these individuals tend to do. The directors are oftentimes misperceived by other people. For instance, persuaders will see a director as wanting to have their own way and that they are more interested in that than in people. Cooperators will see them as people who are pushy, somewhat inconsiderate, and demanding, seeming to want to assert themselves and have others do their bidding. And then analysts, the one that we have the greatest potential of conflict here, people who don't care how long it takes to do something, they just want it now. Those are the perceptions of directors by these other impact styles. And so we do want to make sure that we take these things into consideration and strongly understand from the director's standpoint how they potentially can be perceived. The problem here is that it's not that the director is wrong. It's just that their motivation and their concern for the issue that's creating this chaos is being misinterpreted by the others. So better communication, patience, honoring the other impact styles that you're working with will create a better working environment for the director to achieve their goals. Now, many leaders are strong directors. It's just part of that taking control of a chaotic situation. There are two possible tweaks for a director. One is the give up tweak, and this is where effectively their voice has been silenced. They are not appreciated for trying to correct chaos or prevent things from going wrong. In fact, they are absolutely resented for this in many cases. Over time, the director will eventually get.
By the way, I'm Pepper.
Hey, everybody. I'm back. Our guest has joined us, and I am proud to bring her on. We haven't spoke for a little while. Meg from Dating Tips by Meg. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I have us on Teams instead of this connection, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I tried to send out the invites in time, but unfortunately, because I had a catastrophic failure on my computer last week, it kind of made things a little bit difficult, and I had to take and redo things. But we're all good now. So, I know that we are we're pretty limited on time, and I think what we need to do is take and most definitely reconnect next week, and that way we can tell your story a little bit fuller. But right now, let's tell people what Dating Tips by Meg is.
Okay. Well, Dating Tips by Meg was founded because I went through a very bad dating experience and stalking experience, and so now I raise awareness with all sorts of people, but focusing on younger people mainly. But the stalking prevention, seeing the red flags early in dating, toxic behaviors, how to get out safely and know that you're not alone. So a lot of that, just the awareness, having those campaigns and going out and speaking, doing facilitating workshops, anything to just trying to raise awareness and get people's eyes open to what's really going on out there and how to, that you're not alone, that there's help out there as well.
What are some of the major things that we need people to really start being aware of? Because people are, I know this sounds a little, I guess, direct, but people are falling into certain traps a little too often now. What do we need to be watching out for?
Well, I would say some of the traps that you think are, people are starting to think are normal are the technology traps, where your partner is demanding basically that you share your privacy, your passwords on your social media, so that they can see the backside of it. You can kind of control your social media. Also your phone, looking at saying, I need to see who you've talked to all day, I need to see what text message you've sent, what voicemails you have, which is not normal. It's not okay, but people are just thinking it's a normal behavior and that everyone's doing it, and it's not healthy. It's in healthy relationships we all have our privacy and people trust each other, so you don't need to see everything they've done. Their word is good enough in a healthy relationship. So, but yeah, those normal things like this excessive jealousy, the possessiveness, the isolation, those things are also big red flags. But I think some people kind of feel they get that internal feeling like, oh, maybe that doesn't feel great for me. But the technology part, a lot of people just think, oh, everyone's doing it because everyone has a cell phone, they must be having to share their information with their partner, and it's really not okay. All this location tracking as well, there's safety, and then there's just someone just needing to know where you're at, who you're with at all times, and that part goes beyond just a healthy relationship and safety and concern.
Right, there's safety, and then there's espionage.
Right. Yes.
Let's be honest here. What a lot of people think, and I brought this up when I started the show at 2:00 this morning. A lot of people hear the words domestic violence and they think physical abuse.
Right.
It
Definitely.
goes so much deeper.
It does. Yeah, I recently did another. I do a lot of speeches on other things that surround domestic violence, and one is that it doesn't have to be physical, and usually it doesn't start with physical, and sometimes it never gets physical. It's if someone is, it's about power and control, and if they're using your emotional or psychological abuse to control your behaviors, and the victim is doing what they want them to do or behaving how they want them to behave, they don't need to escalate to physical violence. They may use, threats or coercion or just that the things that make you don't want to have this happen, so you don't do this, kind of you're just behaving for them, and they never have to lay a hand on you because they're getting what they want out of you. Financial abuse, they're able to keep your money controlled so you don't go out and leave them, you don't go out to lunch or something with someone they don't want you to go out with. They kind of have those purse strings, and that sometimes is just enough to control a victim, but all these things aren't normal or healthy. So definitely it doesn't have to be a black eye or broken arm. It's that feeling that you walk on eggshells is one of the things I describe to people. It's if you're walking on eggshells to please your partner or to maintain the peace, that's not healthy or okay.
When you say financial abuse, there can be a situation where one party is paying for everything and they make sure that they keep it that way. And that way they can convince them that you're never going to be good on your own. Without me, you're trapped. It's not particularly that you're bringing in money and they're controlling your money. It could have a lot to do with they are proving to you that, you know what, you're not going to get anywhere without me.
Yeah, that's the other side of it is if you're not, a lot of victims aren't working, they're stay at home, they don't have
Yeah.
any income on their own, they don't think they get out, and that's the part where I say there's help out there. People don't think that, well, I don't have any money, I won't have a car, I won't have this, the kids. There's advocates out there that can help navigate, because it's a very common thing that happens is that they control the money, they don't have the money. You may get like a very small stipend sometimes not, but when someone has control of your financials, you think that you are trapped, and how am I going to survive out there? But there are ways, and there's people that can help you get out there and get the help you need and start to rebuild your life. And it may be slow, but there's the help out there that people just don't realize how far the help can go, and get you be able to be on your own 2 feet. So not think you're good enough. You'll never get a job. No one will want you. You've never had a job. That kind of same kind of thing. So they've got you thinking that you're not okay, and they don't have to lay a hand on you to make it happen.
There are so many times, and I'm a huge fan of crime podcasts and stuff like that, but there are so many times that I've heard the stories about he didn't let her leave the house, she didn't let him leave the house, no
Right.
getting a job, no doing any of this stuff. That is a definite red flag. They're keeping you um they're 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 keeping you, with lack of
Isolated.
a better term, okay, isolated. That's a great way to put it. And then the other thing is that they're also trying to scare you away from other people.
Right.
You don't want to talk to these people because they're never going to believe you anyway. Who are they
Right.
going to believe? You, somebody who doesn't have a job, or me, somebody who goes to work from 9 to 5 every day.
Right. People
There's
believe that
that's a
person.
trap.
They look at it to the public, or they've got isolated you slowly by you don't know your friends anymore because, oh, that friend, they always say bad things. You don't want to be around them anymore. They make them think that they're the hero and that you only have to rely on them. And if you don't talk to your friends for a long time, the victim feels like, how can I reach out to these people? Like, they won't like me anymore. They won't be there for me. And knowing that people want you to reach out, but victims get isolated very early because of the jealousy. They don't want you to talk to other people, they don't want you to interact with other people, because those people might put something in your mind that they don't want in your mind. That this isn't healthy, or that's not good. And they've got the control of what you're thinking right now, so that's what they like, is you just be only with them, only interact with them, or interact with who they allow you to interact with. So
If somebody is feeling trapped, Meg, what's the first thing they should do?
tracked I'm sorry.
Trapped.
Okay.
Trapped.
Trap. I would say reaching out, reaching out to, if you are comfortable reaching out to local organizations, they have all those victim services organizations, and it's an advocate, someone who's on your side, someone who understands, someone who can help you navigate, just having someone on your side. even talking to a family friend, or friend, someone else, just not being alone is, very a first thing, because have all this weight on you, all the stress, all of these things that you are juggling all the time, and it can be overwhelming, and you think if there's no way out, nothing can change. But just even like letting it out of yourself into one other person is so helpful. But local advocates, there's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, that they're 24/7, 365 days, and there's confidential. So they're not going to pressure you to do something you don't want to do, but they're going to give you some options, let you know what's out there, or even connect you with local resources if you're not aware of what they're at. I didn't know what the resources were because I never needed them. It just,
Yeah.
it was kind of oblivious to that fact, but there are a lot of people out there that will help, and really it's go the extra mile to help victims because they know what you're facing. There's so many things, challenges that you face trying to get out from under that situation.
Look, it's an unfortunate fact that, good criminals are good criminals for a reason. They know how to manipulate systems, people, programs. They know what they're doing, and they've got it down to a science.
Oh yeah.
So, but let's go back to what we were just talking about, and you did bring up a good point. What about if how come this guy finds me every time I turn around? What do you do if you're getting tracked?
Tracked. Yes. Yeah. One of the biggest things is location. So that's an easy fix on your phone. Having that location on. I know it's convenient. It's easy because when you're shopping Target, it tells you in their store. Everyone uses location, but it can also be used to manipulate victims and where they're at and what they're doing. Your car. My car always is trying to check me in wherever I go. So your car has that GPS and trying to say, "Oh, here you are," and put a little landmark on there. And like, I don't want to be checked in everywhere I go. If you're a big social media person, I mean, sometimes victims aren't, but that's one of the first ways is that you're checking in saying, "Oh, I'm at this bar," or I'm at, I'm shopping right now at Target. And it's really easy to follow your activity that way. If it seems like someone's doing something privately, they're finding things that you haven't announced or it's not in your regular routine, you may check your calendar. Is someone in my calendar behind the scenes where we put everything on there and it's electronic? Is that the way they're getting there, or are they looking through family and friends? Is there someone who knows your schedule, and they're sharing that with this person? Not unknowingly, they don't know it's a big problem, but they're sharing the information so this person knows. I originally had someone, I said, if you're going to the same coffee shop, the same time of day, the gym, the same time of day, it is very inconvenient for victims, but shake up your routine, change your gym, change your grocery shop, for a while. If that person's still showing up, then they definitely have some way of tracking you. They're either using location, maybe a GPS tracker. Those are easy to stuff into a purse or underneath a car. Start eliminating ways that they're figuring out where you're at, but make it a little bit harder by not letting them know, every day at 5 a.m. I'm at this gym, every day at this time I go to this grocery store. Unfortunately, it's when you're the victim, it feels like you're the prisoner because you're the one having to change everything. You're the criminal. You have to do everything, around them. But if you want to try to stay safe and try to not feel like someone's watching you on your back all the time, those are some of the suggestions I would have.
What if you are suspecting that somebody's got a GPS tracker on your car?
Sometimes you can look at the Bluetooth on your phone and you'll see those different, when they have those tags, where people are using those tags a lot more often, you'll see that device pop up or an unknown network, something to that effect. People say you can go to your local automotive dealer because they can look and see like right off the way, they put it up on there. Is there something under there? They will see that more than because they're so small. They could be and they're magnetic. They can be put about anywhere. But yeah, that's one of the ways they talk about doing it. You know about the police department. Sometimes they have a lot of things on their plate. So, making an appointment with your automobile dealer might be the easier way to do it. You might be able to just check, around like under your tire wells, on top of your engine, different things like that. But sometimes it's easy if someone's slipping that one of those little things in your purse. So like if you're out of your car, but the person's still following your exact location, is it something I'm carrying or something I'm wearing? Check those pockets, check those things, because sometimes they start out very simple, and then if you find one, then they grow and, as far as the technologies, what they're using. But some of those are at the very beginning, just those things, your location that you have turned on, and having access to your phone. Definitely don't share passwords or your if you have for families, the cloud network. You're sharing cell phone plans. I have to go, going into that cloud. You can see what people are saying, what they're doing, and where they're at, because people use those family plans to track their kids, but sometimes those things
Yeah.
are also used to track victims.
Well, and that's another thing is, you've really got to be careful with that. If you are tracking your kids, other people can.
Exactly.
And that's very scary. I mean, it's bad enough if you are dealing with abuse of any kind, but if they're abusing your kids, look, if they're abusing you, it's gone too far. If they start abusing your kids, it's really gone too far.
Right. He's
So
innocent. Everyone's innocent in that game. The victims are, but yeah, there's something that goes to the next level. Your kids, and I mean that was a very big trigger for me. You threaten anything to my kids, I was like, okay, what can I do? How can I keep the peace here? Because yeah, that's
yeah.
not something I want to have happen.
Well,
So
Meg, I'm sorry I got to cut this short, but
I'm
I
sorry.
do appreciate you coming in. Let's do connect next week,
Okay.
and in the next week or two, and let's get you on community impact, and that way we can talk a little bit further, and we can talk about our partnership and how they can take and they can support you simply by using the Community Pay It Forward program. But I want to thank you very much for coming on to Mission for Healthy Heroes. I consider what you're doing definitely worthy of that hero moniker. I think that what you're doing for people out there is amazing, and I appreciate your vulnerability and I appreciate your openness to what you went through.
Thank you, and my big apologies because I was just on the wrong space, sitting there going, okay, what
No, no, that's okay. That's okay. Again, we'll remedy this by bringing you on next week, and we'll get together for a good 30-45 minute talk. So.
sounds awesome. You have a good one. Thank you so much for what you do.
All right. Well, no problem. I can only do it because of good people like you. So, okay, everybody. We will be back in just about 4 or 5 minutes. We're going to skip over to the next segment. This segment is over. So, another segment down, another segment to go. We are, as of right now, well, in about 2 minutes, we're 12 hours in, 10 hours to go in our 22-hour podcast, Mission for Healthy Heroes. I want to thank you all, everyone who has stuck with us, everyone who's commented, everyone who's participated. Thank you so very much. Join us. Just take and refresh whatever social media you're on, especially if you're on YouTube. Go to Things Network YouTube or either one of the Packed Podcast YouTubes and you will find us. We'll be right back.